It is heavily rumored that there will be a show about the next Avatar after Korra. There have been some leaks, and allegedly, in this new show, the world is in a post-apocalyptic setting because Avatar Korra destroyed the world and reshaped it. Apparently, she may have done this in an attempt to save the world. Now, allegedly, the new Avatar will be an identical twin. Apparently, the twin that is not the Avatar was mistaken for the Avatar and trained by the White Lotus. Now, apparently, the non-Avatar twin has Avatar-like powers and could even be a second Avatar. It's a little unclear. Some fans have theorized that perhaps the non-Avatar twin is fused with Vaatu. Maybe Korra ended up absorbing Vaatu somehow. So she had Rava and Vaatu. And when she reincarnated, one twin got Rava and one twin got Vaatu. Would this mean that there are two avatars? Not exactly. In The Legend of Korra, Unalaq fused with Vaatu. And while he certainly had dark Avatar-like powers, he did not gain any more elements. He just had water, the element he was born with. This is because when the first Avatar fused with Rava, he also did not automatically get all the elements. He had to go to each lion turtle to get their element. But fusing with Rava meant he was strong enough to get and use all the elements. So, if this twin is fused with Vaatu, they are not going to have any extra elements. They might have Earth because they genetically inherited it, but that would be it. But if they are fused with Vaatu, that would mean that they are strong enough to receive and use all the elements, if they were to get them. Bending came from the lion turtles, and in the original show, there was one lion turtle left, and that lion turtle has markings that are similar to the fire lion turtle in flashbacks. So, hypothetically, someone could go to that lion turtle and get the power of fire, if that lion turtle is still alive in the new show. So, what if this twin is fused with Vaatu and they are resentful over not being the Avatar, and they go to the fire lion turtle to get the element of fire? This could be a really interesting arc, although if the writers did go this route, I suspect that the lion turtle would refuse to actually grant the twin another element. Firstly, because lion turtles decided to no longer grant humans elements and protect them, and secondly, because the twin is fused with Vaatu, who is evil. Anyway, in The Legend of Korra, the spirit portals were left open. Now these two worlds are mixed, and spirits are overtaking parts of the real world. If this continues in the new series, there should be consequences to this. The world will likely have adapted, and we will get a very interesting combo of the human world and the spirit world, especially since the human world is now post-apocalyptic. We even see a taste of the conflict between the human world and the spirit world in one of the canon comic books, Turf Wars. In this comic, the land that the Republic City Spirit Portal is on is owned by someone, and he wants to turn it into a tourist attraction. The spirits end up defending themselves, and then the military gets involved and starts occupying the land around the portal. Of course, these specific conflicts get resolved in the comic, but they won't be the last of the issues that arise from the introduction of the spirit world into the physical world. The dragon eel spirit even says, as long as that portal remains open, there will be strife between humans and spirits, and that there will always be people who try to exploit the spirit world, which leads me to think that there could be a really interesting conflict between science and the spirit world. As time progresses and science develops, people for sure will try to study bending and spirits to try and figure out how they work. Of course, some advances may be halted because of the apocalypse, but in a post-apocalyptic setting where spirits are running free, not only would people have more reason to do such experiments, but there would be a lack of law and regulations. I foresee a lot of unethical experiments and people messing with the spirit world. First of all, I imagine that there will even be people who try to artificially make non-benders into benders. But scientists messing around with bending, experimenting with it, and trying to replicate it could lead to disastrous consequences. It would be interesting if they somehow accidentally created a disease or ailment that only affects benders and affects their bending. This could contribute to the post-apocalyptic setting. Or maybe people experimenting on spirits is why Korra ended up destroying the world in the first place. I also want to propose that human and spirit hybrids might be possible. And even if it isn't possible for a human and a spirit to have a child, we do know that spirits can possess humans. And humans possessed by spirits are left partly looking like the spirit. We see this with the man possessed by the Ai spirit, and we see the effects of spirit possession with the character of Yao. However, those two examples were long ago in the past, but we actually have a more recent example that is a direct result of the opening of the spirit portal in Republic City. Tokuga is a character in the Legend of Korra Turf Wars comic series, and he was possessed by the dragon eel spirit. This leaves Tokuga looking like this. With the world now being post-apocalyptic, I expect to see more people who have been infected by different spirits, and who even have powers because of this. Because Tokuga was possessed by a spirit, he is immune to poison gas, and essentially has a superpowered arm. I can imagine that different spirits could give people different powers if they possessed them. And here's a thought. What if the Avatar got possessed by a spirit and ended up looking part spirit? Of course, I don't think that the writers would actually dare to do this, but it definitely would be cool if there was a main character that this happened to. Now, there are a lot of ways bending can be explored and expanded on in this new show. For one, waterbenders have healing powers, but what about using bloodbending for medical purposes? Sure, bloodbending was banned, but that was before the apocalypse. Things may have changed. And I want to point out that while using bloodbending to control somebody's body usually requires a full moon, bloodbending on a smaller scale that doesn't involve controlling people can probably be easily done at any time. For example, stopping someone who is wounded from bleeding out. We also know that waterbenders can spirit bend by using their healing to change the energy within a spirit. Spirit bending can be used to turn a spirit's negative energy into positive energy, or to turn its positive energy into negative energy. While only 3 waterbenders, including Korra, have been known to use this technique, spirit bending may become more used now that spirits reside in the physical realm alongside humans. Perhaps some may use spirit bending as a weapon against the spirits, or as a way to use the spirits as weapons against other people. But what about firebending? How can firebending be explored more? Well, canonically, there is a form of firebending that has healing capabilities. In the Legend of Korra, there was a shaman who was able to use firebending to sense chi paths and interpret spiritual energy. She used this to diagnose the cause of Korra's memory loss by guiding the energy pathways within Korra's body. And in the book The Shadow of Kyoshi, there was a firebender who was able to use this technique to actually heal spiritual damage. Since spirits are now living in the physical world alongside humans, I believe that using firebending to heal spiritual damage is something that would be very important and relevant in the next Avatar series. Spiritual healing will likely be a necessity in the world now, so firebenders with this ability will be needed. I'd also like to see some new takes on firebending in regards to technology. Lightning bending is a thing, and lightning is electricity, so think of all the possibilities of being able to control electricity. Timeline-wise, the new Avatar show would have been set in the modern era, if not for the apocalypse happening. So there could be enough technological advance for tech bending to be a thing. Nothing super crazy, since modern day phones and computers wouldn't exist, but in The Legend of Korra, there was literally a giant robot, cars, and radio stations. I'm just saying, lightning bending could be utilized in this new show in very cool ways. And now, what about earth bending? I'd like to see crystal bending explored on screen. In the comics, there was an earthbender who used this technique to bend creeping crystals. Creeping crystals grow extremely fast when in contact with organic matter, and this earthbender could use her earthbending to cause these crystals to grow even faster, which gave her more material to bend. There is also glass bending, which Avatar Kyoshi used when she bent shards of glass out of her skin after her confrontation with the Triad of the Golden Wing. Glass bending could have many practical uses, like making windows, for example. But glass bending could also be a very powerful weapon. Furthermore, in The Shadow of Kyoshi, an earthbender called Yun pigment bends. Yun was able to bend the paint in the Fire Nation Royal Palace's Royal Gallery, as the paint was made from earth. While Yun bent paint to use it as a weapon, this ability could be used by artists to create paintings. And this ability could even be used to tattoo people. This would be very cool in a post-apocalyptic world. And now, what about airbending? Airbenders have all been peaceful nomads in the past, and I feel like that has limited experimentation with airbending. However, now there is a new generation of airbenders. Countless people all over the world became airbenders overnight due to harmonic convergence. People of different cultures and ideologies. Because of this, I think we will definitely be seeing airbending being used in different ways. Sound bending should definitely be a thing in the next Avatar series. Sound bending is using airbending to manipulate sound waves, and there are actually a few canon occurrences of sound bending already. Avatar Yang Chen was one of the previous avatars, and it was revealed in the book Dawn of Yang Chen that she was able to use airbending to amplify her screams, making them into deadly weapons. And in the original Avatar show, Aang actually technically sound bends when he uses his airbending to enhance the sound of his bison whistle. So I definitely think sound bending would logically be used more and developed in the Avatar world. Hypothetical uses of sound bending would be to mimic sounds, dampen the sound in an area, hide certain sounds, like your own footsteps, or to release sonic blasts. Or what about making music, for example? Also, there is an airbending technique where you can fly on clouds. We saw this in The Legend of Korra, in a flashback to the time of the first Avatar. However, this technique seems to have been forgotten. It would be really cool if it was rediscovered. And spiritual projection is a power Jinora had, and so far, only airbenders have used this technique. And I am wondering if, perhaps, someone could use this power to possess other people, or even animals. Lastly, I want to discuss which characters could still be around in the next Avatar series. Aang's grandchildren would probably all still be alive, and there is a possibility that Asami, Mako, and Bolin could be alive. and some characters who died could still make an appearance. This is as some people go to the spirit world after they die. This happened to Uncle Iroh, and even though he died, he still appeared in The Legend of Korra, and he even has a tea shop in the spirit world. So, I think that there is a chance that we will see him again, and I also think that it is possible that Tenzin went to the spirit world after he died. Feel free to like and subscribe.